Hey, thank you for coming back to In the Play with Jay. Now, we've been talking about the draft, okay? We went over the top 5 picks. I've given you some honorable mentions, and I know you thought I was absolutely berserk when I did not mention Shedeur Sanders. No, I wasn't berserk. Was not crazy at all, okay? And I'm definitely going to give you my take, okay? You are In the Play with Jay. I love for you to comment, share, and subscribe. I want to hear what you have to say about this. I want to get some feedback. I want to know what you think. How are you feeling? Okay, so first, let's just say congratulations to Shedeur. This young man has a great deal of talent, and I don't think that talent should be overshadowed. His father, excellent player, tremendously skilled individual, okay? And we all know what Deion was about. I told you before, right here on In the Play with Jay, that I knew who Deion Sanders was, and I didn't know anything about football, but I knew Deion Sanders, and I knew Must Be the Money, and I knew this man, okay? Because he was that guy, all right? And when you have someone that you come from that has so much greatness, and I'm sure had a very humble start and had to put that within himself to push him to be so great, that you shouldn't expect anything less than for them to pass that mindset and that way to think and that confidence on to your offspring. You know, why wouldn't you? Now, the reason why I bring that up is because a lot of people wanted to say that Shedeur didn't deserve to be selected, that he bummed out in interviews with teams, that he was too arrogant, all of these things, right? Not something that I was really caught up by. Now, what I will say is that you do need to make sure that regardless of the amount of confidence that you put within your offspring, you need to still make sure that they understand the importance of humility. And so at all times, you should be able to show that and to make sure that it is depicted in the way that you move in your everyday life, regardless of how much money you have or who your namesake is, right? And at first, I felt a little like on the fence about this because you can get caught up by the clickbait, right? But when I really took a close look, right, and I've seen some of the tapes, you know, I don't deny this young man's credit, the ability and talent. We know that as far as the draft picks go, now Shedeur was not in my top 3, but he definitely was in my top 5. I just felt by what I saw, what I read, that this young man was going to get selected a lot sooner than he did. And the idea is, I don't necessarily think that it really matters when you are selected, because when you are selected, that is your time. How you are selected is how you should be selected. And hopefully this entire experience has a positive outcome, not just for his performance and his ability, but for the naysayers, and for those who may be considered naysayers that might actually be right. No one really knows, you know. We're talking about like a young kid. I think, what was he born, like in like 2002, something like that, 2003? That's a kid, you know, a kid with talent. A kid that came from a very, very successful family. But should this talented young man be scrutinized just because of where he came from? He didn't ask to be brought into the limelight in the way in which he was born. But we know in order to get to where he's been, he's had to work for it. We know that. We know that he's had to prepare and had to train. I remember on draft day seeing the questionable look on his face. And I was slightly annoyed, and I'm gonna say this, you know, some might agree, some might not. Okay, we've been talking about chains. I still got my little draft chain on, or whatever, you know, just a gift from my boo. But anyways, we're talking about that, and I was just so perturbed at the fact that he kept talking about that damn chain. Nobody care about that damn chain, you know. Then Shiloh come in and tell me, where my chain at? Look, okay, we know you got money, nice chain, okay, but that's not what we're here for. But I had to take a moment, you know, because if you don't check yourself first, sometimes you can make a big mistake. And I had to think about it. He has no idea what to do right now. He's confident, yes. He is skillful, yes. But deep down, he is still just a kid that has worked hard and that wants to be able to not only make this achievement for himself, but he also wants to show his dad that he could do it, that he was able, that he had an impact on him. So maybe talking about the stupid ass chain was a way that he was able to distract himself from his nerves and his jitters. Now, moving on, because it was some other dumb ass shit that went on. And, you know, there was a prank call during the draft, you know. Come to find out, because I know I was like, who the hell is this student from Ole Miss? Okay. Who is this? Ole Miss? I'm from the D South, okay? I'm from Memphis, so I ain't really messing with Ole Miss like that, no way. But, you know, I'm not a hater, so I give people credit. But when I seen Ole Miss, you know, all up in the video, first of all, how dare you prank someone, record it, and then post it like you're untouchable? And might I add, I also feel that the repercussions would have been a little bit different if this prank call came from someone else, okay? And I'm gonna just leave that there, all right? But I don't think that these actions would have been looked at the same way if it had been Shiloh or Shedeur making those prank calls. No. I don't think that those prank calls would have been handled the same way if Condoleezza Rice's little nephew made those prank calls. Because, see, you know, she's the owner of the Denver Broncos. So, you know, it's not like other people didn't have access to that list. But, you know, we're going to leave it there, because I even heard some discussions on the radio this morning. I was on my way to work, and apparently, you know, a wife contacted the radio station because her and her husband were at odds about this, because she, too, felt like me that it was extremely disrespectful, a terrible lack of professionalism. I think that there should be some stronger repercussion. I think there should be some fines and some other stuff, because this is just negligence. You know, this is negligence. This was personal, confidential information. All right? And that's what this was. You know? And so I frown upon that. And I think that it was very tasteless. And although it seemed like a harmless prank, or it was funny at the time because, you know, everyone was struggling with the elephant that was in the room, it also lacked character. It also spoke to the product in which you come from. Because, see, everybody wanted to talk about, like, how Shedeur was and how he's arrogant and he's cocky and he's this and he's that. He's a young man that hasn't been in trouble, okay? He hasn't been caught up in any drug scene or anything like that. All right? He's not caught up with a 1,000 baby mamas, okay? Even though we seen him with some girl. Because I read a headline. She's an artist, whatever, very beautiful. We seen her there. But people don't really know, like saying. But what we do know is that regardless of all of that, he had tact. He had proper etiquette. He knew how to address the people that came to support him, even during his time of frustration, even during his time where he wanted to doubt or to feel like he could give up. He still held his head up. He still handled the room. He still continued to be positive. And he didn't have to do that by making anyone else feel less than. He didn't have to do that by being silly and doing goofy things. So what I want to say is, are you always going to agree with the players, how they act, how they carry themselves, their choices, their plays, their wives and partners? Are you going to care about that? Are you going to have any control over that? No. But what I do care about is how a person carries themselves overall. And during a time when you're going through something and you can hold it together and you can present and operate with confidence and tact and respect and show humility at a time in which you are the most vulnerable, I give kudos to the Sanders family. Okay? Deion, congratulations. All right? Because even though you're a celebrity and you got all this money, okay, one thing that you couldn't change was the color of their skin and the fact that they were young men. And the fact that they were able to see what you were trying to offer them, and they tried and they are taking advantage of the opportunity and growing. Okay? And like I said, I'm not a huge fan, The cocky stuff can be annoying to me too. But one thing that I will say is that this young man has handled all of this with dignity. And I want to say congratulations to him. I look forward to seeing what you're going to do with the Browns. Because don't forget, it's Steeler gang over here all day, every day, Shedeur. Okay? But I am very proud of you. And I am glad to see that you are getting the just due. And I don't like that boy prank called you and that ain't nothing really going on about it. I want to see some repercussions. But that is all I have to say about that. And I'm not going to get into it. Again, congratulations to all the 2025 draft picks. Okay, I can't wait to see what this season has to offer. I want to see what you're looking like in training camp. I want to make sure that everyone is aware that this is just the beginning. Okay, this is just the beginning. Okay, so be sure to comment, like, and subscribe. I want to hear what you have to say. I want to know what you think about it. How do you feel about what's going on in this year's draft? How was Shedeur being treated? What do you think about this prank phone call? Let me know. You're here in the Play with Jay. And if you don't know NFL, you can learn with me.